ask, can I drink coffee?
Yes, of course.
Yeah, lighting is good. Hold on. Let me take a sip.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to be answering your questions about our relationship and being a newlywed couple in Japan in an international relationship. This video is actually sponsored by, Yuji's gonna tell us. You should tell us about the show because you've known it for a longer time.
Sure. It's called Shinkonsan Irasshai.
Shinkonsan Irasshai. Try to say that 10 times fast. It's actually a show that's been around for about 50 years. It's the longest running show with the same host. And it actually it's in the Guinness Book of World Records for being the longest running show with the same host. The show is all about relationships and international relationships and also other crazy relationships. So it's mostly international, but they also have other crazy relationships. I wouldn't say crazy, but it's just not very common, these relationships. So someone that's older, like way older than the other person, or way younger.
Like 90-year-old.
A lot of the international ones are so interesting to us because we are in an international marriage. We are going to be talking about that today. So I want to talk a little bit more about the TV show. It's very interesting, the difference between American relationship type TV shows and Japanese relationship type TV shows. So we're gonna go run that clip real quick and then we'll come back. If you've ever seen a Japanese TV show in general, you'll notice that the Japanese pay loads of attention to detail, vibrant colors, and extreme expressions. The talk show Shinkon Irasshai is a TV show that began 50 years ago in 1971. The show is the longest running TV show with the same host, Katsura Bunshi, who is now 77 years old, which gives this show a deserving home in the Guinness Book of World Records. The show is about rare, unlikely, or fascinating relationships, particularly surrounding international relationships in Japan. Katsura Bunshi is known for his signature reaction to things when he's surprised. They call this reaction isukoke. If you live in the US, you'll know that compared to Japanese talk shows, the hosts tend to be a little bit more chill and laid back, whereas Japanese comedians and hosts can be a bit more expressive with facial expressions and body language. As far as we know, America does not have any famous or well-known talk shows surrounding only relationships. Amongst a culture generally focused on reality TV shows and competitions, we would love to see one. They just released their YouTube channel. So their YouTube channel has 3 languages that are available, so you can watch it in English, Chinese, or Spanish. You don't have to worry about knowing any Japanese. You can watch the shows with the subtitles. I think it's super interesting. They have a few videos up already, so I will link their YouTube channel down below, and we're gonna answer some of your questions and everything like that. So let's just jump right into the questions. So the first question is, what made us be together? I know some of you guys are wondering, because you guys are new here, where we met, but I have a whole YouTube series on our meeting and how we met, and I talk about it so much. So if you guys want to go back in time and check those videos out, please do. We met on Instagram and he messaged me in my DMs right when one of my videos went like crazy viral just overnight. But I started to get a lot of messages starting to come into my inbox, but I noticed his first.
Thank God.
He was telling me about how he relates to a lot of my videos because he lived in Japan. He was very articulate and very kind and not a pervert or weird or creepy at all. And he was very creative, and I loved all of your photos, and you're like, you should come to LA and I'll shoot you. And I was like, hell yeah. That is the gist of it. I flew to LA and then we met and then we got engaged in 2 weeks. Yuji's been in the States for about how many years? 8 years. And then he moved back for me. Are there any difficulties, challenges happening, or troubles when you started dating? We didn't have many troubles when we started dating or anything because Yuji's lived in the States for so long and I lived in Japan for so long, so we just understand how we act and how we do things. That's a difference with us.
A lot of culture difference, I guess.
Yeah, but I think for us it's been easy to really adapt to each other because we just understand each other's cultures. That's what I really wanted in somebody. If I were to date anybody Japanese, I wanted him to understand my culture.
One thing is, I think like in English, there's a little bit of like a nuance differences. Like if you mean something, and I sometimes like my English is obviously not perfect, so I take it in the wrong way or something.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's a challenge.
I think that happened to me. Yeah.
And it's more of a challenge if you have a language barrier. The other person has to know the language pretty well in order for a relationship to work out. That's my opinion. Maybe it's different for some people, but I think communication is like the #1 most important thing in a relationship. Are there any stories about international marriage in the beginning, like culture shocks, food preferences, about your family, Japanese, and more? A lot of this is pretty positive. Like when we got married, my life got so much easier. He's been teaching me something every day that I didn't know, that I've lived here for so long, and there's so many things that I didn't realize I didn't know. Like for example, my bike broke and I didn't know, I thought I had to go to a shop to fix it, but he's like, hey, no, there's a service, let me call them. And it's just like, I didn't know all these services that existed or point cards that existed. It's a lot that I didn't know existed, and he's here to always be like, no, we can do this instead, or renting a car, or like, I don't know, there's just a lot that I just would have never been able to do without him. So I feel like getting married to him was so much easier, but it's also making me lazy.
But you always like, I don't know, teach me more American stuff too.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, it's not like one way.
I think it's exciting to marry somebody that's from a different culture when you're open-minded and you are accepting of new information and things like that.
I'm learning a lot about Disney.
He doesn't know anything about Disney. He's never seen a Disney movie. The only movie you've seen is Up. Remember? The old man, and like, that was Disney, Pixar.
Oh, that was Disney?
Yeah.
Pixar is Disney?
Yes!
Okay.
Sometimes I question my marriage when he says things like that. Is there anything that you don't agree on or have different opinions with? Yes, so being intimate in public. So in Japan, like, you just don't do that. But I'm always like hugging him and like hanging on his shoulder. And like turning around and hugging him at the station, kissing his cheek, touching him. He's like, stop, Kelly, we're in public. But in America, you were like, and we were like all over each other. I'm
turning back into more Japanese man.
That we should be more intimate because I'm a foreigner, so it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's just like me being, I guess, in Japan. I used to be, I guess, like Japanese, but more Americanized, I guess. But like I'm turning back into a Japanese man more. And
no, don't turn back. Okay, so in America, we have central heating and central cooling, and in Japan they have aircon or air conditioning systems. So I like to turn it on in the summer and all that stuff, but in Japan they don't. They try not to use it so much to save money. Same with like lights, turning on lights and all that stuff. It's just like, I feel like Americans can be more wasteful.
Actually, a lot of my Japanese friends who lived in United States or other countries, they always say like the AC is too cold. Whenever they go, like they go to banks or they go to supermarkets or they go to everywhere, city hall, doesn't matter. It's so cold. Are you a comfortable couple that doesn't need privacy, like peeing with the door open? I honestly wouldn't even pee with the door open in front of my family. So I mean, yes, okay, we're a comfortable couple. Yes, we like fart in front of each other. In America, everyone's like, can you fart in front of each other? Then that's a real relationship. That's a thing. People say that. Yes, people say that, and I'm like, yes, like we're comfortable. It means you're comfortable with each other. My friends would always ask that, like, can you do those things in front of each other? Just be comfortable, because that's like when you're a real couple, you know? I agree, actually. Yeah. Yeah, I think we're comfortable. And I think you can confidently fart in front of me. And I can do the same thing. That's real true love. I think we're comfortable with each other in everything that we do, right? I think we both need privacy though still, you know. I think it's same for all the couples. Okay, so someone asked, was it difficult at all as newlyweds to accommodate, coexist with each other's daily routines? No. Not at all, because we started living with each other immediately, and I feel like we got into the habit of our routine like just pretty quick. So Ryuji and I have, you know, our own schedules and we just follow them. So
I think it's pretty easy to coexist, and then we make time for ourselves on the weekend at least one day. I feel like people make it more complicated than it has to be. People think it's gonna be so different. It's gonna change when you have kids. That's what's gonna change.
Oh, it's gonna be hard for us
I feel
to
like
have our own time, I guess.
yeah, I feel like
our time.
yeah, I feel like when you're married, things don't change as much as people think. It's just kind of like, especially if you've already been living with each other. If you haven't been living with each other, I think the routines are going to be a little weird and hard to adapt to.
Yeah.
But I think since we've been living together, it's not any different being married. Like the only thing that changed was my name. How do you balance or separate your personal time? I'm a morning person. I wake up at 6:30 a.m., sometimes 7, but I try to wake up at 6:30 a.m. to start my day because it's so quiet and I can just be by myself and, you know, work out. I can make my breakfast and just everything just feels very zen in the morning.
And I like to stay up late.
Yeah, Ryujin stays up really late and I'm usually the first to bed. So it's just kind of like we balance our time that way because that gives us our like alone time, I guess. We have 2 rooms in our apartment, so we're pretty separate. But it's still like we still need our like quiet time, I guess, like no interruptions, no distractions sort of thing. So that's how we do it. Yeah, sorry, I'm like talking too much.
It's okay.
Are there any cultural differences that you guys find hard to compromise on? We already kind of touched on this, but no, because I feel like we understand each other.
Sometimes I feel like you're more Japanese than Have you ever thought about me in that way? Like, I'm more American than you are?
In some instances, yeah. Like, there's some moments where we just feel like but we feel like we get each other. Like, it's just, it just makes sense. If you were Japanese and you grew up here, I feel like there would be so many differences, but because we've traveled a lot and we're cultured and we just know about our countries, it's just so easy. Do Japanese people judge you or your husband because you are a foreigner? People say anything to you about dating or marrying a foreigner? No, we haven't experienced that.
I think like that was like 1950 or 60s or 70s or something.
I feel like it's pretty common nowadays. You know, I personally get a lot of negative comments from Japanese people saying like, go back to your country, why are you why are you marrying a Japanese man? Like you don't, there's a lot of, I feel like they're older people. It's like 60-year-old like men.
It's on your YouTube?
Yeah, like in my comment section, like Japanese people will say those things about me, but I've never had any like comments that were from like that weren't Japanese that were saying like go back to your country sort of thing. Like it's just,
I think in general people here in Japan like American people.
I mean, there are still a lot of people against it.
Maybe like super old people.
Yeah,
like
it's just mostly older people. This question is, what do you choose, English or a Japanese name if you ever have kids?
I think we both agree actually.
We agreed to find a name that my parents can pronounce.
Something that's Japanese and English at the same time.
Yeah, Japanese and like an American name. So like for a boy, we wanted to call him Luca.
Whatever easy for both Japanese people and English speakers.
We haven't decided on the actual names, but we thought about Luca, Sora as for a girl's name, and May for a girl's name. If you guys have any suggestions for names, please comment it down below. Do we ever argue?
Yes, we just argued today.
We argue about dumb things.
Okay, so here's one thing that I wanted to tell. I think in Japan, if you're, say, a Japanese husband, it's really common for, I guess, a couple or a married couple to not talk about the problems, I guess. Like
that's so bad.
Let it go? Let it go.
No.
Yeah.
No. Do you agree with that?
I disagree. That's why, like, whenever we come up with, comes across disagreement, I'll try to talk to you.
Alright, thank you guys for watching, and if you have any more questions for us, please comment down below. Please check out Shinkonsan Irasshai's YouTube channel for more information about international couples and just relationships in general. It's so interesting, you guys. The episodes are so cool, and the host is so hilarious, so you guys should definitely watch it and see how Japanese TV shows are and how relationships are in Japan. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!